Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil. Welcome to What's the Next Move, where we very much focus on companies and organizations and what has been some general changes related to workforce development. Between COVID, between everything going on, we really want to get as many people in front of not only the Venture Cafe platform and community, but others as well. It's my privilege to really extend this invitation to Marques Brown, who I met not too long ago, and we really hit it off with a lot of commonality, specifically as it pertains to passion for the community. In addition to many hats that I'm sure a lot of people wear, I'm gonna name just four of probably the thousands of hats that this man wears. But just four of these hats include a healthcare administrator for Jefferson, real estate ventures, specifically Cowboy Hill LLC, community investment and economic development, and one that I'll probably ask you a little bit of questions about a little bit later on, related to health and life science council. So welcome, Marques. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Thanks for having me, guys. Super excited. Yeah, man. Happy to talk about Mantua. Happy to talk about all things Philly.
Awesome. Well, let's start there. Let's talk about you. How did you get to the position that you're in now? Tell us a little bit more about Mantua, and specifically Mantua United, because that's part of a conversation that we had a little bit more. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, man. So this is actually a little bit of a coming out party for us, because a lot of the individuals who are involved with this have all done things solo. So we have one gentleman, he runs a clothing line. It's called Face Your Fears Clothing. He has a recording artist. It's a lot of the cool people. His artist is called Yak Yola. So you can check him out on Instagram at YakYola42. We got one guy, he's a part of a construction startup, and he's co-designing a platform called Pocket. It brings small businesses and nonprofits together. So we got another gentleman, he owns a Black-owned custom luxury eyewear brand, KD Phillips Eyewear. Check that out. He's also from Mantua. Right? We got a CEO of a nonprofit called We Embrace Fatherhood. That's Derek Pratt. He also runs an internet radio station. And his last gentleman who's also involved, kind of biased, is my cousin. He's a photographer. He's also an IT professional. And he's also the career record holder of assists and steals and masters in high school history. So, and that's just four of the guys that are involved. And they're all from Mantua. So together, separately, we've done things. We've done coat drives. We've done hand out turkeys on Thanksgiving, but we wanted to do something together. And you say, how do we get here? So Mantua has a rich tradition of giving back, community organizing. My father was a community organizer for 20 years. That is how I kind of got into this. That's how I got into Jefferson. He worked at Jefferson Hospital for many years. And he was able to, his legacy brought me to Jefferson Hospital. I came there in 2009. I now manage the department that I started in all those years ago. So it's been a nice journey for me as I've grown also in the community space.
That's awesome, and I think the deep roots in the community is what led me to you in the first place. Just a quick story: the Science Center launched a workforce program. It went really successful, and Marques reached out to me and said, "How can we get more people in Mantua involved?" And even just from there, our conversation just kind of skyrocketed to opportunities that are literally just waiting in the wings for folks to get involved with. So I'd like to transition into the next question, and that's really about, COVID-19 and some of the general challenges that, either Mantua as a community has been facing, you individually has been facing. I mentioned a whole bunch of hats that you have, but, tell us a little bit about the challenges. Maybe some things have changed from pre-COVID to now. What has changed? What has been some challenges with either getting Mantua United started, off the ground, all of the above?
Well, I think the big one is just meeting, right? Just being physically together. That's been a challenge. A lot of our meetings have been virtual. I had one meeting at my dining room table. That was cool. So we wanted to get bigger and a little bit larger. So we tried to do something outside, like Circuit Green, outdoor spaces. But it's tough. And especially when you're trying to do things specifically targeted around youth. A lot of our spaces, unfortunately, in our neighborhoods are governed by the Parks and Rec, which is publicly owned city land. It's not ours. So the Parks and Rec can tell you, hey, you guys can't do anything here. We have to kind of do things on the fly. So we're still feeling our way about how to plan events safely for the community, for kids, and to do things in a way that's, it's good for the community, but doesn't put them at risk at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense. I think there is a lot of connectivity in relation to wanting to do what's right and actually having kind of like very specific actions towards that engagement. And there's too many kind of like resources out there, but there's either not enough access or there's not enough folks kind of coordinating. So that's awesome. That's really, really good. So in terms of either major or minor wins, have you seen any wins during this time? Are there any really big things that you want to be proud of to say like, hey, this is something that I'm really proud of, despite everything that's going on right now, we've been able to do this, this, and this, and kind of like still kind of like pump that positivity into the community?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are still things going on. Mack Playground has given out some things as far as like meals. The city, we've been able to kind of partner with the city a little bit. The city, unfortunately, there are programming abilities that they have, and there's programming abilities that grassroots organizations have that are a little bit more extensive, you know? So we've been able to kind of give them a little bump, whether that's showing up saying, I'll physically take these to where I know seniors are, you know, where they may just like say, hey, I'm handing these out at this playground. If you can get here, you can get here. So we say, oh, well, you know what, let's just pack a truck, which we've done, and just drive some over to where the seniors are. Let's get it to them. You know, people like Dwayne Drummond, who's from my neighborhood, who does a lot of things that way, where we're just making sure that these resources are getting inside the community. But I think honestly, like my dad used to say, slow motion better than no motion. You know, like it may not be exactly what we want, Phil, but at the same time, we're moving in the right direction, and that has an energy all its own. So we want to make sure we just keep building on the small things we're able to do right now in this time.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. We meaning Amplify Philly and some folks from the Office of Innovation and Technology were just talking about the digital divide. And like I find it like really interesting that you're just able to pack a truck and go exactly to the locations that people live, primarily because you know these people, right? You've were raised by these people or you have a deep connection with them. And knowing, like to quote an old like G.I. Joe reference, like knowing is half the battle. And if you don't know, now you know. It's another reference. But at the end of the day, like I think that's what makes community such a strong like either advocate or just leader in this space. And getting more connected with companies and organizations are critical, very, very important. So kind of transitioning into like the company / like workforce side of things, what has been some of the things you've seen either that has been successful or that you feel could be more of a challenge kind of like leading up to people within the Mantua community just in general, either getting employed or just connecting with different companies and organizations, specifically hiring practices, but specifically related to workforce?
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot there in that question, especially when it relates to the trades. And the future of the country largely is in trades. Unfortunately, there are some 30 million jobs in the United States right now that are paying an average of $55,000 a year that do not require bachelor's degrees, right? And those jobs are not being connected to the inner city community. Communities like Mantua, communities in North Philly, Southwest, that all need these programs. They need the ability to close the skills gap so we can meet these demands. A changing world requires a changing workforce with an altered set of skills, and we need to meet that. The problem is, as of now, we have not been able to successfully connect young people with the skills, and that's why that program you had, man, I was on it, man. Unfortunately, I missed that date, man. I did not expect you to email me like that either. That was perfect, but I knew I saw it. I saw the bones were all there. It was everything I was thinking. It was just there, and I was like, wow, this is perfect. And a lot of math and like science gaps that a lot of our kids have, that they get kind of intimidated by these things, and they say, oh, I can't get over this one hump, but they have all these other pieces. And I think if we can close that, I think we're in business. Things like cybersecurity, coding, and then not even talking about the traditional trades. I think the number was around 70% of construction companies across the country are having trouble with filling their vacancies with qualified prospects. In a world where we have inner cities, where households are making $20,000 a year, when these things are available, we need to find a way to get it there. So.
Yeah, that's really true. I have a colleague that I worked with in city government, and I don't think he coined this term, but maybe he coined this term, but he talked about the silver tsunami. So a lot of folks are getting to the retiring age, and they have a lot of like either institutional knowledge and they have a ton of experience as it relates to what their actual either trade, construction, what have you. No matter what the new technology is, they have kind of like the very simple, basic, but extremely important skills. And we want to be able to have, them either be mentors or pass that information along to the next generation, really to build upon, what that actually means. And that means, having a good paying job, being able to provide for your family, not just at like a minimum wage level, but really being able to have a sustainable career, something that you can be proud of, something that you can come back to your community and say like, this is what I've done. Why don't you guys get involved as well? So kind of like getting more personal too. Like, are there young people in Mantua right now that you think are really poised for greatness? And if they just had this one opportunity, they could either be the next Bill Gates or they could be the next whoever, right? Are there folks right now, young people, adults, whoever, that you can just identify and say, if that person had X, then they'd be this?
Well, most definitely. That's probably like one of the worst parts of not identifying, not mining in the communities for talent and identifying gifts and cultivating those gifts that some of these kids have naturally. There's so much wasted and lost talent where people don't get a chance to shine and show what they can do, and they get pushed into a corner that they really didn't have to occupy. We've got to do better with that. And one of the things Mantua United is definitely focused on is mentorship, dedicated mentorship, and then kind of creating a funnel. So my dad's thing was basketball. That was his vehicle of choice. But really, at the end of the day, as I got older, I realized it never really was about the basketball. Basketball was the thing that we all kind of loved and shared. So it was a way for him to get us kind of in the playground, in a safe space, let us be the best versions of ourselves and be happy, be safe. But at the end of the day, we can use whatever funnel the kids want. It could be 2K, it could be Madden, it could be coding, whatever it is. It's about getting them in a funnel and saying, okay, like you good at this, you're good at that, you're good at that. Let's cultivate that and push you in the right direction. So dedicated mentorship is one of the key tenets of Mantua United, as well as social programming.
Yep.
The COVID-19 is especially damaging to the Black community in this way, because a lot of the negative interactions that young people have are based on inability to navigate tough social interactions. Just something as simple as conflict resolution, that everything doesn't require, a 10 reaction. This might be a 2 problem. This might be a conversation. One of our co-founders, he talks about this all the time. He's very influential in the social space. He talks about how just because if somebody has a problem with you, you don't have to go nuclear. You can discuss it. Hey, look, we may not get along. We don't have to be friends. Maybe we'll just respect each other. I see you. Hey, how you doing? I keep it going. That's okay. So, and I think being able to get kids into spaces where we identify gifts, but we also teach them how to navigate situations that don't have to go in certain directions is a key.
Yeah, for sure. I think you and I have both worked with young people. In my time with working with young people, that's something that was kind of a crutch for them. Like if someone disrespected you, or someone said something the wrong way, or someone looked at you funny, then let's go all the way to 10. And it's not even about that, right? You're wasting valuable energy and time that you could be using cultivating that skill or heading to that class. And I think, even with something as simple as that, a lot of young people can go even further in terms of, either getting connected with a mentor or getting connected with a teacher, and doing something extremely positive within the neighborhood. That's awesome. You hit the nail on the head for sure. So we're approaching maybe like the last 10 minutes or so. I do have one more like really big question for you, and then we can definitely open it up for the folks that's on the line. So the healthcare or the Health and Life Science Council, you told me about that. I actually am very curious and, definitely sitting at the edge of my seat about this council. I know we have a mutual person, Tia from Lucas Pi Bio, who you've talked with recently. And I've interacted with her, and she's amazing. She's definitely
fantastic.
High energy, and fantastic is exactly the word.
Yeah.
So tell us about this council. Tell us about how you got involved, like what's your role on it? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, man. So I got involved with it mainly because my thing is, what's the future of work? What's the future of Philly? Where's it going? And how can I get my community to go with it? Like earlier today, I was on a tour of 3675. Your work home with Pete Kramer, the director of real estate for Westford Technologies, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Pete. But yeah, like I was touring with Pete, and we were talking a lot about it. Like the city's going in a certain direction, right? We're already one of the national leaders in the biotech space. Like Amicus came
Yep.
to Philly. I got Schuylkill Yards down there, right? Brandywine's doing big things. Trying to bring more and more life sciences and biotech companies to the space. So in a world that is changing in this way, as far as our built environment, there's going to be jobs that accompany that. And I want to be involved. I want to know what jobs are what. I want to know what they're paying. I want to know what the educational gaps are. I want to know how can we meet that, because in a world where, let's say, Philly becomes one of the top 3 cities in the country for these things, how many Black communities in a predominantly Black city are benefiting?
Yep.
And that's a key thing. And I think places like ULI, they need to hear that voice. They need to hear that side of it. And that was pretty much on all of my applications. Like I'm coming to ULI as a person of color that lives in a place that's gentrifying, that lives in a place, that has rampant violence and crime, but I'm also adjacent to lots of wealth and development, so it's a nexus that we have to figure out. And I think it's on people like me. It's on people like you, Phil. It's on like those of us who care and are passionate and are very intelligent to figure these things out. So that's why I landed at Life and Health Sciences Council, because I think that's where the future is.
Awesome. So let's definitely open it up for questions. There's not too many people on the call. If you want to unmute yourself, if you have a question for Marques, definitely feel free to unmute yourself, ask those questions. Give a couple seconds for that.
So Tracy, so I'm with the Science Center, but I would love to understand, like, what kind of partnerships do you think are most valuable for you to continue to move forward your mission?
Sure. Thanks, Tracy. So I believe, one, employers. So right now, we're starting pretty much at the base level. Like I've reached out to places like ShopRite, Lowe's, Westford Technologies, Venture Cafe, whether it's employers themselves who are employing the workers or saying, hey, with these skills, this is what we're looking for. So we know how to tailor programming in the future. But we know where the workforce development needs to be to meet their needs. So I think it has to be a conversation. We have to provide value at the same time. So we need to create those relationships as well. I believe the skilled trades are where it's going to be. So a lot of developers will be the relationships you need. A lot of them use union labor. So if it's making sure that our kids can get into a union, or our young men and women can get into a union, what does that look like? What does that take? So we need to know that.
Currently, are those conversations happening at the school level? Certainly from a standpoint.
They're not. So as of right now, I'm just at the base level of skills and math competency, because what happens, and if you've had any conversation with any like educational people, in our community, we have an education committee, MCA, and the issue mainly is that math piece. Like kids can, we can teach them how to swing a hammer, we can teach them all how to tile the floor and remodel the bathroom, but when it comes to the testing, they have been ill prepared to be able to jump that hurdle. So I think we have to start there with a lot of people. But yeah, I do think right now we're more on the physical side. So I have like a contractor on the line with, he has volunteered to run programming. His name is Devin Johnson. He's a remarkable young man. He started his own construction company. He was a young kid, and I don't want to share too much about him unless he can tell himself. But he started out, he was in a situation where, he was kind of headed in this weird direction, and he rerouted. He's very successful, and he wants to give that back. He wants other kids to know the power of the skilled trades, and he's doing very well. So I think someone like him, being able to find a space, I've reached out to Vision Quest, who has access to a lot of young men who need help, and they have spaces, warehouse space, where we could frame some stuff out, teach you how to physically do the job. But that math portion, that really is, I think, the divider when it comes to the skills gap. So
just need to integrate it into Madden.
Exactly. I mean, look, we just make it 2K and we're done.
Exactly. here's the subtle math that's happening. You got the angles. That did the angles on the basketball court. It's like, how are we getting those in the video games?
We're gonna put it on 2K. We're gonna put it on Instagram, and we'll be done. That's all it takes.
It's like the bonus. So when you get to a certain level, you can now do math. You can now achieve like extra math skills, even though you won't tell anybody that's what they're getting.
I was going to
Listen,
add.
math was not my friend in school, man. Math was not my friend. I'm in awe of people like Phil. Like Phil was talking to me. We had a nice conversation about our mutual friend Tia. He started using some words, man. I'm like, Phil. Slow down, buddy. All right.
That's because I'm a science nerd. So
we're all in awe, Phil, just so you know, like, you know, Phil walks on water.
I'm a huge science nerd. So like once I get started, it's hard to stop.
Oh man. Yeah, you were rolling.
We had other questions coming on the last couple moments?
Not a question from me, more of an offer. But Marcus would love to collaborate to highlight some of the amazing entrepreneurs and innovators that are coming out of Mantua. So would definitely love to follow up and see if we could host a session where they're able to showcase themselves and really show what products and services they're providing to the community.
That's great, Gary. No, shout out to Cody Duckett, man. Cody Duckett, we call him Quizzy, Quamaine, Brandon, Derek, my cousin Mike. I mean, just like they're amazing people, man. Yeah, I can say I'm talking to Cody, see if I can get you guys some shades, man. Like them joints are nice, like so nice. Seriously, Brandon, like man, like I told him, hey man, send me some stuff you're working on. He sent me some stuff, man. I'm like, wait a minute, dude, when do you sleep? He's like, oh no, I'm just doing this stuff. Like he's very modest, but we really have some amazing individuals. I've talked to a few guys when I'm in the mix. I'm outside, and I'm just saying, hey man, it's a lot of talent around you. Like just you might see certain imagery in the neighborhood, but that's not who we are. You know, this is not like people are transcending these boxes people are putting us in, and we just have to make them connect with those people even more. And we gotta open that world up. There's a lot of influences in the street. My dad used to say our only problem was that we weren't open 24 hours and the streets were, you know, and we got to try to extend those hours and still steal more hours back because there's a lot of talent. We're losing a lot of it for needless reasons, you know.
Yeah.
My husband always says nothing happens. He says this to my 18-year-old son, but nothing good happens after 11 o'clock at night, you know, so.
Seriously.
It is a different version of the same sentiment that you're saying, is that there's all this amazing things that's happening during certain hours of the day, but how do we make sure that it's kind of extending beyond that?
No, I mean, you're right. And a lot of this is, not all of it can be solved by like a job necessarily. I'm not saying that, but a lot of it can be because idle time, as grandma used to say, it's the devil's workshop, right? Not to go religious, but like it's when you have so much time on your hands, you're always in the mix. You're always accessible. Like bad things can find you in these spaces, you know, but when you're working, you're productive. You're giving back, and your time is for the kids, you know, and it's for uplifting. So like that positivity, it has energy, it has momentum, and it can carry you. So we want to just share a lot more of that. And I think we have some great ideas, like bike riding clubs. We were trying to put together maybe a thing for kids for the COVID-19 situation, right? Like maybe we'll start with a lower grade, but how about a group recess so these kids can still have some social interactions together? Things like that. And these are things that kids can just jump in. Like older kids can jump in on some of this stuff. You don't have to be, you know, you don't have to be a fashion designer or internet radio CEO to do some of this stuff. We're just trying to get together and, you know, for Mantua by Mantua. You know, nothing crazy.
Awesome. So Marcus, if folks want to get in contact with you, is email, Instagram, LinkedIn, what's the best way to continue this conversation if folks are interested?
I'm on LinkedIn. My social media game is extremely weak because, well, there's a reason for that. It's a longer story. I want to get all into it. But after 2016, I did some self-evaluating, and I just wanted to see how productive I was and what I was bringing to the table. So I kind of hit a reset button. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook under my name, Marques, Marquez. My dad's very, very creative. Brown. You can catch me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm not really on Instagram, but a lot of my partners are. Cody Duckett, again, very popular dude. Derek Pratt, Brandon Hall, Quamaine, Michael Mack. All of these guys can be accessible. They're all open to talk. Mantua United really is more than just us. So anybody can talk about it. And they want to get in. They say, hey, I'm passionate about this thing, or I can bring this thing to the table. It doesn't have to be the workforce development piece. It could just be, hey, you know, I like to do hopscotch. Whatever it is, I'm down. We gonna be some hopscotching people then. Let's get it. You know.
I'm in.
Super specific. We appreciate
Let's get it done.
we
I'm down.
appreciate
Like,
that.
who's this 50-year-old woman? What's she doing?
She's playing
Oh,
hopscotch.
that's Tracy. Tracy's down. Let's get it.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Marques. We are definitely in awe of some of the things. That's just like the tip of the iceberg of what you're doing and what folks in the Mantua community is doing. Definitely respect you on so many levels just because of your intensity and how you portray yourself in the community. Very, very valuable. Getting more companies to understand what's going on and all the talent is definitely a part of my job as well. So connecting with people like you is definitely going to be a part of that uphill battle. Hopefully, you know, it kind of like solves itself, but we definitely want to work at it, and we definitely want to be good stewards of all that's going on. So thank you very much for attending. Again, if folks want to get in touch with Marques, LinkedIn is the best, right? LinkedIn is the best way to get in.
LinkedIn and Facebook, yeah.
LinkedIn and Facebook. Done. So again, thanks, Marques. We appreciate your time.
Sir, thank you, Phil. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
All right,
Have a good night.
Peace.
Thank you, everyone.